Hey everybody, welcome back to Bravely Default. Last time, we went around all of Luxembourg to 6 monuments around the world after going here to Vampire Castle and being told we need to go find 6 keystones in order to enter. Those 6 keystones are guarded by 6 dragons, who we fought in the exact same way, so in video we really only fought 1. But anyway, we have all 6 keystones out, so we can enter Vampire Castle.
Did you hear that sound? I believe the gate is finally unlocked.
That was anticlimactic. He could have at least included a flash, a bang, or a puff of smoke.
Let's head in before Ringabel has a chance to flap his gums again.
Great idea, dear. But before we enter, we have a party setup to go back over, because I changed things since our fights with the dragons. Tiz is now a time mage with black magic, along with these abilities. Pretty self-explanatory why I have them, I would think. Agnes is now a white mage or spiritism. I'm just going to work on white mage, I guess, because spiritism or spirit master is basically level 13. Don't really need it to be level 14, so might as well work on white mage. With these abilities, Holy One, so I'm going to add white magic MP, and speed up just so she can go sooner in the turn. Pretty self-explanatory. Ringabel is a salve maker with thievery. Why don't I? Oh yeah, because I wanted to attack him because I wanted him on Salve Maker, just to have him on Salve Maker really, and I was gonna give him attack and So these abilities, Shield Lord, just because he has a shield equipped, and if he has Shield Lord, he'll get better defense. Default Guard, because I don't really have anything better to put on him, and speed up to go faster. In turn, of course, item critical for obvious reasons. So he should be doing a ton of damage with attack items. Adia is a Valkyrie with sword magic. Valkyrie just because why not? And sword magic is why not? More money because we don't have much else I can really put on her or really want to put on her. Protect ally because she has a lot of defense, so might as well. And to help out with that, she has physical defense up as well as default guard. Is it the best party setup? I don't know. But it's what we're going with. Our specials are light and beast slaying. I probably really should have multiple special or different specials be different elements, but I'm stupid, so we're not doing that. Anyway, as Eri pleads to take her into the Holy Pillar, we're gonna go fuck up a vampire.
It's freezing in here, even colder than it is outside.
Look at all those paintings.
Did we just stumble into an art gallery?
They all have a sort of forlorn look to them.
So, if you're doing this dungeon, you're gonna want to strap in. It is very long. I believe it is the longest dungeon in the game. Well, that's not actually true at all. There is a dungeon longer than it, but it's the longest dungeon tied to a specific side quest, let's say. Also, there's only 3 enemies to fight in this dungeon as well, which is not good, because if you're on a long dungeon, you want to have enemy variety. This is the Melusine. It is weak to wind, and you can steal a Holy Lance from it, which is pretty cool. Otherwise, not too much about it. It can use Nocturnal Gala to confuse the entire party. Oh, on that note, I also have Peace Rings attached to everyone. I should probably start attacking this thing, huh? I have Peace Rings equipped to everyone, so that they can, resist confusion. You can buy those over in Florum. I guess I'll try and steal from you. You can buy Peace Rings in Florum to resist confusion. And I think Swordmaster level something also gives you confusion resistance. So that's cool. But otherwise, not anything bad. I can use white magic. So, wind. I can use Aroga to damage people. I think it can also heal as well. But, no, yeah, it's really fun. I don't like there's only 3 enemies in this dungeon, as I mentioned, because if you're gonna have a long dungeon, you certainly want enemy variety. Also, I should have used Curata first. I should have used Curata first. That was stupid. I guess it didn't die anyway, so whatever. I should have used attack items. I don't know what I'm thinking. Anyway, this dungeon is 8 floors long, if I remember correctly. That's a big dungeon, and it's not like a linear dungeon either. It's pretty. It winds around pretty handily. Let's keep using Mug. This is such a stupid way to handle this fight. It really is. But this is the way I'm doing it, I guess. I could Just fucking attack. Jesus Christ. Can I get a single thought out and finish it? Or may I just repeating myself a lot? I don't know anymore. There's a Holy Line. It's great. Thank God it's dead. It's an 8-floor dungeon with 3 enemies. Not very interesting because you're fighting the same enemies over and over again. There's only so many party combinations you can make out of 3 enemies. Jesus Christ. Now we can move on. But right over here, there's a chest that we can open. Thanks, game. On each floor, there's also a fairly lengthy cutscene. So yeah, this dungeon, you're in it for the long haul. All right, these are the most annoying enemies. There's Cerberus, as you can see. I think Cerberus, they probably should have 2 heads, right? Or is that 3 heads? I don't remember. I don't know my Greek mythology very well. They're weak to water and they counter physical attacks, so we're not gonna use a Dia on them. But we can use his black magic that I forgot he had, because I should have attack items as well as sword magic. We basically have 3 levels of black magic right now. This is why I say black mage is probably the... Ooh. Man, they're also very strong. This is why I say black mage is probably the least necessary level of magic in the game. Because you have so many other ways to deal elemental damage, from sword magic to attack items being incredibly powerful. You don't really need to have a black mage. Also, in between episodes, I bought a ton of items because I have a bunch of money. So, there's that. What was I talking about? The enemies are strong. I wasn't really talking about anything, but I'm going to talk about this now. The enemies in this dungeon are incredibly strong. And because of that, it can sort of feel like this dungeon was balanced for way stronger characters that, oh my god, thank you, for what your party is likely at right now. We can handle it with a salve maker who can just rip through enemies, but still.
My, what a large portrait. Is that Lord DeRosso?
His wife was sure an attractive one. Oh, and it says something under the painting. Lester, eldest son of the House of DeRosso, future clergyman of the Crystal Adventists and cardinal of the Crystal Orthodoxy. Born in the land of Eternia on a cold winter's day. So, that's his mother, not his beautiful young wife. And that little baby is Lord DeRosso.
Clergyman? Of the Crystal Adventists?
Is something the matter, Agnes?
The Crystal Adventists were the predecessors of the Crystal Orthodoxy. It is now known as the Old Faith. But it hasn't been practiced in over 2,400 years. How could he have been a member of the Adventist clergy? According to this portrait, Lord DeRosso is incredibly old, even ancient.
Yes, indeed. For I was born of these frozen lands in a time some 2,400 years from this day.
And this portrait?
I was but an infant, as you can see. This is a reproduction, however. The original was lost long ago to fire.
And what of the part that reads, clergyman of the Crystal Adventists and cardinal of the Crystal Orthodoxy?
Yes. As Wind Vestal, you would be expected to take interest in such matters. But ere I delve into the matter of the Old Faith and the Orthodoxy, allow me to tell of the founding of this land. As you may well know, this land had long been ruled by the Crystal Orthodoxy. However, 15 years passed, the Templar rose up and occupied their lands. Thus was the Duchy of Eternia born. Or so I expect you have been taught. However, the Templar did not found a new state. In truth, he restored an ancient dynasty.
He did?
Long before the Crystal Orthodoxy ruled this land, it was known as the Kingdom of Eternia. In a time 2,400 years past, Eternia was a bountiful land blessed with 4 distinct seasons. The highlands were not as lofty as they are today. people and ideas flowed freely from other lands. The kings of Eternia were protectors of the Earth Crystal and the Crystal Adventists, ruling in peace for generations. To the west lay the castle of the House of DeRosso, hereditary dukes of Eternia with royal blood in their veins. Relations with the royal family were good, and ever did the kings of Eternia treat the dukes of our house with kindness. In return, the House of DeRosso did faithfully serve generations of Eternian kings.
So slowly throughout this dungeon, we're going to learn about the history of Eternia and the history of DeRosso. Pretty interesting. Also, the only problem, rather, with using a salve maker as your primary attacker is, I missed a chest, is that you can't, you have a limited number of attacks, obviously. Also, I missed a chest somewhere, probably hidden wall. Yep, okay, right from the left. Not right from the left, that doesn't make any sense. Left of the entrance, you can enter this wall and find a blood blade. That's, I don't think we have anyone who can equip that right now, but it's a pretty interesting sword. Its main thing is that you can use Drain when you use it as an item, which just steals health from enemies. Kind of helpful. Not incredibly, not like the best thing ever, but still cool. I don't need to go out this way. We need to go to the staircase that we missed earlier. I don't know if it's better than the Claymore we got from Brave, because that's like a really good sword, but it's still really solid as is. Another note about these Cerberus enemies, while they do counter physical attacks, I don't believe they counter multi-hit physical attacks. So something like Crescent Moon from the Valkyrie, it will not counter. Another reason why I've come in with the Dia as such. So you can use Blizzaga and then a Crescent Moon and hit all of them for decent damage. Crescent Moon does the same damage as a normal attack to everyone. Hermes uses better Hermes Sandals. Plus 20 agility instead of plus 10, I believe. Alright, so now we're seeing some other combinations. The Cerberus is going to be a bigger deal, so I think what I'm going to do is Brave with Tiz and Blizzaga that alone. Actually, you know what we can do? Just, this. You can default, and we can use Blizzaga, Crescent Moon, and then attack the Mellow Sign. Oh, can we use Crescent Moon twice? No, okay. That's what I thought. Blizzaga, Crescent Moon, and attack the Mellow Sign. Yeah. And hopefully, either the Mouse's gonna die. Actually, the Mouse's definitely died on. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Shit. So this is a bad idea.
I swear upon the oblige name.
I haven't really shown Bravely Second off too much, but yeah, each character does have like a little similar quips they'll say every time you use Bravely Second. They'll also hint that there's another way to earn SP besides sleeping or putting a system to sleep, which is of course buying it. However, the first time I played this game, I kept thinking they were alluding to some secret in-game way to get SP besides buying it. There is not one. There is not a secret way. It is purely either buying it or putting a system to sleep. They just don't want to break the fourth wall too much and say that you can just buy it in-game with real human money opposed to silly Bravely money. Also, can we talk about Pig and not this random battle? There is no way the first time playing this game that I was the only one who had no idea how to say Pig, right? Like, it's just PG. How do you say that besides PG or like Pug or some shit? Black belt. That gives us plus 15% crit chance. I don't think I want to equip that on anyone right now, but that's a really good accessory. This is a really short floor. Never mind. Well, I mean, the floor is still short. It just had to piss me off a little bit, making me under a battle, just as we're about to make progress. I really should be used to that by now.
What magnificent vestments. This must be none other than Lord DeRosso.
'Tis a portrait of my ordainment as Cardinal of the Orthodoxy. I was as yet... No, let us move on to other matters. I was born of the House of DeRosso, hereditary Dukes of Eternia. Blessed was my youth. My parents showered affection upon me, and I was beloved by the people. And the king bestowed favor upon me as well. Upon royal recommendation, I was made a cleric of the Crystal Adventists, the Old Faith, in my 19th year. I devoted my body and soul to my clerical duties, for king, for kingdom, for faith. Sleep became an oft-missed luxury. But before long, a new tide began sweeping through the Crystal Adventists. There were those who wanted the clergy to control the 4 crystals of Luxembourg, rather than local monarchies and temples. That belief formed the core of the Crystal Orthodoxy. The Eternian royal family, keepers of the Earth Crystal, immediately assented to this new way. I soon found myself appointed to the position of cardinal in the Orthodoxy. Me, a mere cleric. Cardinal DeRosso. Those were my days of glory. Even now, the mere sound of the then-new title is dear to me. The Old Faith was remade entirely into the Crystal Orthodoxy, and the decision was made to elect a Grand Patriarch to rule. Thereupon, cardinals throughout the world gathered for a conclave to elect the first Grand Patriarch. Amid the conclave's maelstrom, I was approached by a cardinal who wished for me to vote for his choice. I suppose it was my youth and sincerity that made me reject the notion out of hand. But that was my downfall, for I was forced from the position of cardinal by the fraudulently elected Grand Patriarch. I had been but fervent in my beliefs and ideals. What I did only for the Orthodoxy, and for the people of this world.
The Old Faith and the Orthodoxy. The Kingdom of Eternia and the Duchy. That was all a bit hard to follow.
I agree. There are no major differences in teachings between the Old Faith and Orthodoxy. They both revere the 4 crystals. I have heard that the Adventists gave way to the new and truer ideas of the Orthodoxy and faded away.
No wonder the Old Faith was abandoned.
Yet there is more to the story, for history is not more than accounts recorded by the victorious. To solidify their power, the victors showered contempt upon the vanquished. So it was those who held the reins of power within the Orthodoxy relentlessly pressed for the Adventists' eradication. No one recalls the words of the vanquished if the victorious write them out of history. 'Tis as if they had never existed.
I'd been taught that the battle between the 2 faiths had been fierce, and in its wake, devastation persisting to this day covered all the lands.
That is an uncharacteristically accurate account for the Orthodoxy, save for their false reckoning of time. It was after the Orthodoxy had begun ruling the world that the endless conflict with the Adventists began. I should know, for I was there to bear witness firsthand.
Lord DeRosso, how could you possibly be that old?
I guess then he just fucked off. I don't know. Lord DeRosso's epic oratory. Ring a bell. You were sawing logs almost the entire time Lord DeRosso was speaking. Sawing logs. She means you were sleeping. Ah, so it was that obvious? Obvious? You were snoring like a bear. I was? You'll have to forgive me. Even I know that's really rude. That it is. Even if that was an incredibly long bit of oratory. That's right, Ringabel. You were really rude. I mean, your snoring even woke me up. What? You mean you were sleeping too, Adia? God, no one respects DeRosso. He's like a million years old and you're gonna be an asshole to him. That's probably not the best idea. He's probably got like old powers from the old age. I don't know my jokes anymore. They aren't really jokes, they're just stupid quips. So we've now learned that we gotta solve the monster. Plus 20 intelligence, better healing, yay! Ah! We've now learned that corruption within the Orthodoxy kind of started right when it began, with someone who basically begged people to vote for him as Grand Patriarch, and anyone that refused to vote with him, or vote for him rather, was kicked out of the Orthodoxy immediately as it began. Even DeRosso, who was very sturdy in his faith in the Adventists and the Crystalist Adventists, was immediately kicked out of the Orthodoxy for refusing to vote for that specific individual. Oh my, a new enemy, Magnaspats. Let's see, they are weak to wind, they have ultrasonic wave to confuse targets, kind of like the Melisonic can confuse people. Otherwise, not that bad of an enemy. It can drop and steal dark matters. It can drop dark matters, you can steal dark matters from it. But that's about it. Nothing too bad otherwise. Just use wind magic on it, take it out. Nothing too bad. It's going to use Tangusnes, which is a really weird name for an attack, but whatever. And just a couple Crescent Moons, and hopefully that'll take it out. Something I should mention about the Cerberus, I didn't even mention its attack. It is Hellfire. Interestingly, it's a physical fire attack. I believe the only one like that. I don't think there's any other physical fire attacks in the game besides, of course, fire a sword magic or something like that, but it looks a lot like it should be a magic attack, at least in the context of the game. I guess in context of reality, then fire is a physical thing, so it would be a physical attack regardless of whatever the fuck's going on, but still.
This one shows a castle in flames.
A large army surrounds it. It looks as if it could fall at any moment.
Is this not this very castle? See, this is the western corridor right here.
There's another castle burning in the distance. It's near where Eternian's central command is today.
So then, that's the Orthodoxy's head temple in flames?
Nay, the distant castle in flames belonged to the King of Eternia, and the castle in the fore. 'Tis the abode of my family, the House of DeRosso.
But why? Why would such a terrible thing?
The kingdom of Eternia was suddenly beset by a great host from another land. We would later come to know that it was a four-state coalition sent by order of the Crystal Orthodoxy. They had been told the King of Eternia sought a return to Adventism and was arming for war against the Orthodoxy. The Grand Patriarchy used this fiction to order a great muster of forces from across the lands. Alas, I failed to heed the many warning signs. I rejected the scheming Cardinal's choice for Grand Patriarch. But he succeeded in luring votes from other factions, and his became the ruling faction of the Grand Patriarchy. It was they who wished to establish Crystal Orthodoxy as the uncontested world religion. Under their orders, the castle of the Eternian King was besieged. It fell in mere weeks. Before long, the great host was at the gates of our castle, and my father lay brutally murdered. The water supply was poisoned, and the Orthodoxy's forces drew an ironclad ring around the castle. By then, the castle sheltered naught but the elderly, the young, the wounded. There was no hope of resistance. I was forced to sue for peace, even offering my own mother as hostage per their demands. Yet that failed to break the siege. The commoners who had placed their faith in my family and me slowly starved to death. It was then that a letter arrived from a man. That man was the Cardinal, who had sought to influence my vote. The Fiend was now the officer in charge of the attack. He wrote that he would not accept my surrender. Such was the hatred he bore for me. Such hatred that he was willing to let countless innocents die. My mother had been murdered. Our castle was consumed in flames. That is the painting you see here.
How could the Orthodoxy do such a thing?
This all reminds me of what happened during the Great Plague.
Indeed. Perhaps the Templar and I are not so very different. To be betrayed by what you believe in. To have your family and those you protect murdered. Though we do not see eye to eye, Perhaps it is a shared sorrow that binds us.
So the Orthodoxy definitely is not as pure as Agnes was raised to believe, or as we've been taught, I guess, or either through Agnes or through just general teachings. The Orthodoxy isn't really good. The Orthodoxy has shown itself to be an organization willing to kill innocents or let them die just for the sake of themselves, for not using the crystal in order to fight off a great plague. It could have been avoided, but they let thousands die just so they didn't have to use the crystal, and those drove them to Stray's dexterity. Directly, they killed thousands of innocents just to wipe Adventists from the land. They even wiped out a king that actually supported them just so they could be the ruling world religion and just in general have full control over people's thoughts and minds through crystalism. Okay. And it all started with a patriarchy that was voted in through corrupt votes anyway. The Orthodoxy was formed out of pure corruption. Also, those hyper braces we got, plus 20 to strength. Very, very good. But we want to stick with our confusing immunity for now.
Look!
Such fierce flames.
Though I wish not to remember that day, it is indelibly etched upon my mind.
How did you survive?
The Orthodoxy lay siege yet would accept no surrender. My mother, father, relatives, and my people lay dead. It was then I set our castle ablaze. But as the flames began to lick my body, something slipped into me. Betrayed by the precepts I believed in, was I not bitter? Robbed of my beloved homeland, my dearest of kin, my people slain. Amid such despair, was I content to simply welcome death? Nay, I heard a voice. Accept me, and I shall grant life everlasting. Though it shall be filled with grief, thou shalt have all eternity to wreak vengeance upon thine enemies. Did I forge a dark pact with some fiendish entity that day? Or was it a rebirth, triggered by a future me reaching back to the past? Panicked upon failing to find my body, the Orthodoxy chose to denounce my family and me as ghoulish vampires. Thus have I been living in a mortal existence ever since.
Then the name Vampire Castle is...
A lie that has been perpetrated by the Orthodoxy for some 2,400 years. Though it is true I am immortal, I am no vampire. I find the smell of blood too revolting to ever drink it. Having said that, I have done naught to quell the rumors. In truth, I endeavored to embellish them. My ability to transform myself into a bat and grow these fangs are the fruits of many years. Long, long years of effort. Tell me, O Vestal of the Wind, what does the Crystal Orthodoxy have to say about the passing of the first Grand Patriarch?
He chose the second Grand Patriarch and prayed for peace and the well-being of the faithful as he passed peacefully from this world.
Passed peacefully from this world, you say? I know the truth to be far different.
What do you mean?
The first Grand Patriarch was assassinated, along with his Archbishop, the man who had been my bane. The assassin himself tells you this. There is no other truth. That was when I forsook this land. Soon after, sightings of the vampire Lester DeRosso began to crop up throughout the world. I became a veritable Duke of Darkness, forging ties with those bearing hatred toward the Orthodoxy, and those it had oppressed. I was the enemy of man, the hated and feared vampire. But more than that, I was known as the arch-enemy of the Orthodoxy. And after some 500 years, a fateful encounter with one whom you all know well. No. Let us leave the matter for another time.
I love how when DeRosso was falsely called a vampire by a corrupt Orthodox that killed his family and all of his people, he just chose to go with it, and he kind of chose to torment them with the thought that, yeah, sure, he's a vampire, he can turn to a bat, and he grew fangs, and he just chose to embellish the rumor just to scare them more and make them afraid of him. And ultimately it worked. I mean, he managed to assassinate their archbishop and their first grand patriarch, so I mean, he's definitely a force to be reckoned with. Magic armlets, plus 20 mine, good for attack. Also, we're getting so much money. We already are nearly at 200,000 peak. I entered with, I think, about 80,000 peak after buying everything I wanted to, as well as buying a bunch of attack items as well. I really do find DeRosso's whole backstory to be really interesting, and kind of makes you think that maybe it's not best we kind of follow what the Orthodoxy might want in awakening the crystals again. Maybe there is some secret that they hid from the world that the crystals aren't, you know, this thing to be protected. And if this is the way they're going to treat people of different beliefs and lives, then maybe they shouldn't have control over something such as powerful as the crystals. Maybe it should be controlled by the public. Or at least someone who represents the public and truly has their best interests in mind, like you could argue Brave did. Lamia's Tiara, plus 3 to magic attack, as well as charm immunity. Decent little cap. In fact, that might actually be good for Tiz, so let's go and check that out. No. No, it isn't. Okay, well, I don't care. Found that confusing, but I don't really care. We have high magic attack as is now, so whatever. I am running kind of low on attack items, I'm realizing. I'm about to 50 permacrystals, which is not great. However, I'm also realizing that as I use less attack items, I am dying more, and that is heavily unfortunate. We're only about halfway through this as well, so I really need to conserve them better and also live.
A battlefield landscape?
It represents the long and hard-fought war between the Orthodoxy and we denizens of darkness. For 500 years, my thirst for vengeance remained unsated. It had also been 500 years since the Orthodoxy had been founded. The world was in the midst of an age of seafaring and piracy. Compared to the great exchange of ideas and information, the once hallowed Orthodoxy began to lose its luster. The authority of the Grand Patriarch and the Orthodoxy itself began to wane. Fearing irrelevancy, the Grand Patriarchy acted rashly to regain its authority. This led to the unusual decision to select a commoner, the gifted young Yuliana, for an important task.
Yuliana? Sage Yuliana?
Yes, indeed. At age 20, the young Yuliana became High Inquisitor of the Crystal Orthodoxy.
It's hard to believe he ever was young.
It was no laughing matter, for there was no one more skilled at rooting out enemies of the faith than he. The shadowy ones, those who had been working against the Orthodoxy, were crushed by the host he led. In the several decades that saw him age, I cannot count the number of times we have crossed swords, he and I. In the great battle waged on the Karka Plain, the might of our clashing forces rent the very earth into a vast rift.
You mean the rift under Ison Bridge?
In the battle at the foot of Mount Fragmentum, our armies smote the mountain to its very roots.
So that's how that ravine was created.
And in the battle fought on the Harina Plain, the once fertile earth was reduced to desolation. The loss of that fertile plain is believed to have ushered in the downfall of the Harina dynasty.
To think any sort of battle could change the face of the Earth so.
We fought our final battle 1,800 years ago on the Norende Heights in the land of Kaldisla.
The Norende Heights? That's where the Great Chasm opened up!
In the end, Juliana, High Inquisitor of the Crystal Orthodoxy, utterly defeated me. Lord DeRosso, leader of the Shadows.
You were defeated? But you're here with us today!
Yes, well, there was more to that final battle than meets the eye. You see, I ceded the glory of victory to young Juliana that day. I say young in my reckoning, for he was already 100 then. Juliana returned triumphantly to Eternia with what he claimed to be my remains. What he brought them was not human. And when the Templar attacked the head temple 15 years past, it is said they found my tomb deep underground. Ever dreading the darkness and my return, the Orthodoxy kept those duplicitous remains under arcane seal for over 1,000 years. 'Tis a tale replete with irony, is it not?
To think that a battle between DeRosso and Juliana kind of... Oh my god! To think their battle could have impacted the geography of Luxembourg so heavily, and ultimately impacted a lot of what we ended up doing. You know, Harina as a region is a desert because of them. Eisenbridge has a giant crevice underneath it because of them, and that dictated the whole result of that war, really. And then Mount Fragmentum was our path to Juliana after we went to Florum and lost our airship. And that was ultimately the reason how we met Olivia, and then quickly lost her, but... So Anius in that battle reached White Magic level 6. That is the max for White Magic. There's no more. We don't have level 6 yet, even. So... I guess I could put it back on Spirit Master, or... let's actually have her go to Red Mage. What the hell is that? And you know what? We're not even really using Spirit Master right now, or Spiritism at all. So I'm actually going to give her White Magic, just so she can, actually heal, instead of having to use Cure, which would be disgusting. So, yeah, we're going to stick her on White Magic. I'm going to keep her with the Egotistical Staff, just because I don't really care about her actually dealing any magic damage, or magic attack damage, like black magic damage, or physical damage. So, yeah. That Rune Blade we got last time is also good for the Red Mage, since they're a little bit more physically focused than other mages. Also, apparently there is something going on between Juliana and DeRosso, rather. They had a battle, but ultimately DeRosso faked his death, seemingly with the help of Juliana.
That is... Say Juliana!
Yes, indeed. No one would mistake such a man for young now. Having put down the blood-sucking Lord DeRosso, bane of the Crystal Orthodoxy, he became the first ever commoner to become an archbishop. Perhaps it was a small honor they threw his way, for he was already 101 years old and would not long count among the living.
That makes it sound... despicable.
Agreed. The truth is, however, that was when Juliana's plot was at its most clever.
The sage's plot? What was he plotting?
He was taking measures to separate you Vestals and the faithful among the people from the Orthodoxy's corruption. After serving some 80 years, he had witnessed firsthand how corrupt the institution had become. Should nothing be done, it would not be long before the putrid poison would do harm to the most innocent of the faith. So it was he vowed to rid the Orthodoxy of the source of this poison, the concentration of power.
But how?
For the great feat of defeating me, Juliana had been made archbishop, but in name only. But such was not key to his plot. Timing was the key. The proper time to separate the Vestals and the faithful from the Orthodoxy.
And just what timing would that be?
The great upthrust of the Eternian Highlands. At the time, the Highlands were not so formidable as they are today. But a colossal movement of earth and rock thrust the Highlands to lofty heights, thereby isolating Eternia from the world.
Hold on a moment. He was waiting for the Earth to move? How could he have known when such an event would take place?
I shall tell you in time. For now, I will say this. Yuliana bided his time till the Orthodoxy was cut off from the world. And at last, it happened. The Highlands ringing Eternia did thrust up to about half its height today. The Orthodoxy-ruled Eternia now found itself completely isolated, for this was an age preceding the airship. And while the Earth Crystal remained in their keep, control of the crystals of fire, water, and wind was returned to their respective temples. This, what you believe to be the true form of crystalism, is the fruit of Yuliana's efforts.
That was the sage's doing? I won't ever call him a miserable old lech again.
Sage.
So the sage did start out kind of as corrupt as the rest of the Orthodoxy, but as he realized that, he took measures to make sure that the Orthodoxy would remain corrupt forever. And I would certainly say he did a good job. I mean, despite how Brave views Agnes and the Crystal Orthodoxy in general, there's no question that Agnes's intentions throughout this have all been pure. Also, I kind of wonder what Eternia has to say about this. Nothing. Okay. You'd think she would be taking a little bit more offense to people insulting the Orthodoxy such as this, but like, anytime anyone's questioned anything about the crystals or our quest, she's been really offended, but she's oddly silent now.
What is that glowing jewel-like object? I could swear I've seen something like that before.
I believe you have seen a similar sight countless times. It is known as an asterisk.
An asterisk? As in those objects we possess?
Yes, indeed. The second stage in Yuliana's plot against the Orthodoxy's authority was to deprive them of the power to grant vocations.
Grant vocations? I'm afraid I don't follow.
Before Yuliana intervened, special approval was required to change vocations within the Crystal Orthodoxy. In this way, the institution grew rich through fat profits they called alms.
Oh, so the Orthodoxy cornered the job market and the fees to participate therein.
In layman's terms, yes. But Yuliana exposed this fact before the reigning Grand Patriarch. It was then that Yuliana approached panicked high officials and the Grand Patriarch himself with a proposal of pure genius. He showed them a stone known as an asterisk, saying the granting of vocation should be based on it, overseen by the Orthodoxy. Those who sought such vocations would apply to the Orthodoxy and pay a fair price. Anyone with the means to pay could thus learn a new job.
That's no different from the old system where people had to pay alms.
No different indeed. But the Grand Patriarch and his officials had not but the material profits of the Orthodoxy in mind. Hence, they accepted Yuliana's proposal without question, even appointing him to the important position of overseeing the new asterisk system.
I fail to see how that really changed anything.
Well, it did far more than you would guess, for he was the only one who knew how to make the asterisk stones.
Why, that wily old fox?
So it was Yuliana robbed the Orthodoxy of its authority to grant jobs and took it for himself.
What of the Orthodoxy's profits? Wouldn't they demand Yuliana transfer the proceeds to their coffers?
Yuliana was long gone. Abandoning the seat of Archbishop, he fled with his knowledge of the asterisk craft. He also took arms and armor the Orthodoxy had seized from around the world. items of such power that their use was forbidden. He took them all and sealed them away in a hidden location. They now lie secreted away against the day the Orthodoxy's tyranny or some other impending doom threatens the people. He then hid himself in Yuliana Woods until those who knew him reached the end of their natural lives. But that did not take long, for I led the forces of the shadows to ensure their swift demise. I had always believed the Crystal Orthodoxy required not but the crystals, the Vestals, and the faithful. With the institution free of corruption, I returned to my homeland of Eternia after a 700-year absence. Where my family's castle once stood, I built a fortress of ice from whence I have been watching over the Orthodoxy's head temple. Meanwhile, Yuliana retired to that land to tend to the Vestals, but you know of that better than I.
Say Juliana.
That's really interesting that they had this plan to ultimately rid the Orthodoxy of corruption, so the Vestals, the Faithful, and the Crystals themselves would be free from it. But what they did was never really... I mean, they still did pretty awful things. Also, that Lilith rod, it's a very good rod. In fact, I'm probably going to equip that to Tiz. And you can use Drain to get MP back. I find that whole story really interesting. Yeah, the whole plan's to rid the Orthodox corruption, as well as DeRosso was there to kill people who knew Yuliana. Ultimately, they aimed to remove all power from the Orthodoxy and simply make it another religion that people could follow if they so chose, but not that they were forced to follow by either eradication of other beliefs or pressure from the Orthodoxy itself. And that's where we are today. So they really did a lot of good to the world. Also, I'm gonna buy a bunch of these shit again. And it's interesting that Yuliana created the asterisks. It makes him a lot more important than maybe we originally thought he was. Alright. Anyway. As for at the top, we of course have DeRosso over there. And you might guess, we're gonna have a fight. As is, there really isn't anything to steal from him. I think you can steal a blood blade from him or something, but it's not that vital. We already have one after all. So I think I'm gonna make Ringabel a Templar. And keep him on Salvemaker? Well, no, that's stupid. Actually, I'm gonna make him a Thief. With sub-medication. And then I guess I'll make Adia a Templar. That makes more sense, really, anyway. Because that's not really changing her setup much at all. In fact, she can now equip the Bloodblade, which is better than the Claymore. So cool. I'm gonna change you... I guess I'll keep you on Red Mage. Because mainly I'm gonna be using her for healing anyway. So I don't really need her to be anything else. So... yeah, sure, just stick on Red Mage, I guess. And Tiz is... well, I guess Tiz could go with something else. I guess stick on Time Mage, sure, whatever. And Black Magic. Heal everyone up, get our MP back. And let's go ahead and save real quick. Let's go.
I commend you for making it this far.
Oh, no more paintings?
The final painting lies beyond this throne. I shall reveal it to you if you defeat me in battle.
What?
The last test is a test of strength. I shall only reveal the painting to those whom I deem worthy. One might also say that there is no need for those who are unworthy to lay their eyes upon it. But be forewarned, I am a formidable foe. I trust you are well prepared.
Absolutely. We've made it this far, so we can probably handle whatever we have to throw at us, or he has to throw at us. Let us do battle. But DeRosso definitely is not an easy fight. So, he's weak to light attacks, so we can immediately start with Holy Weapon, I guess. Well, actually, what does that do? Magic attack up? All of these do magic attack up. Do that then. You, I want you to start with just default. you start mugging just to make sure we steal whatever he has. And you can use Radiant Blast, actually. Actually, no, what we want to do is default with you right off the bat. DeRosso has some pretty nasty physical attacks. Of course, there's Battle Thirst there that drains MP. He also has Blood Suck to steal HP, similarly to Chogmar way back when, who we annihilated. But we're not going to annihilate DeRosso in a similar manner. I can pretty much promise you that. He's a lot harder than that. I want to get... Give me Hastiga. I want to go fast. Continue to... Actually, no, yeah, continue to mug. You don't need to use your special yet. You continue to default. Because we're mainly going to be wanting to use Rampart. Okay. That's why I want to use Rampart. Because of that shit. That was bad. That's just a really strong physical attack on everyone. Alternatively, you want to keep your health really high against this guy. I'm going to hold off on using Rampart because people are dead. You want to keep your health really high because of that. That's Bone Crush. Bone Crush, I can't remember when we saw it before, but we did see it. It basically deals damage equal to the amount of HP one has missing. So, Anya's had like 2,000 HP missing, so she just like was wiped. And that's bad. That's why I want Rampart, because he has, again, really nasty physical attacks. I really need Ring Bell to get... okay. Wow. Wow, man. You, that was bad. So let's just default start immediately. I should really just get Rampart out as fast as possible, because then more people, at least, will survive his terrible attacks. Rampart goes away after one physical attack to any target. It only goes away for that target, though, thankfully. It doesn't go away for the whole party, so say Ring Bell gets attacked right now by... Oh, Mega Elixir! Oh! Okay, well that's not amazing. But that's really good, still. I'll take it, sure. There's not many chances to get Mega Elixirs, and there's no way to, like, infinitely get them. Actually, that's not true. What is there? Debatably. There's a way to get infinite elixirs from a Nemesis in Norende, but there's not a way to get infinite Mega Elixirs. Okay. So let's revise my plan here. Let's get Hastiga, and possibly Velga as well, might be even helpful. You just default. You don't need to mug anymore, so just start using Glitter Bugs. Also, did you equip a dagger? You always had a dagger equipped because you're always a thief. That makes sense. Okay, Glitter Bugs. To deal light damage because he's weak to that. You continue defaulting so we can use Rampart without having to go into a BP deficit if possible. Oh yes, item critical, 6,000 damage, sweet. Okay, if he uses Energy Burst and Bone Crush in a single turn, by the way, well actually, no, if we have Rampart active, we're not in trouble at all. Because then we don't take any damage, and Bone Crush, if we have no HP missing, simply does 0 damage. I guess you continue defaulting, we don't need to do anything after all. You use your special, because we're running low on Tiz's about, I think, at least. We should reuse Rampart, because we're in danger otherwise, if he uses Energy Burst. So more than likely he's going to use Bone Crush, just because he's used Energy Burst recently, so he's probably not going to use it right away. You are weak, holy shit. Well, whatever, it's fine. It keeps the special going, that's mainly what matters. Okay, Battle Thirst, that's not a huge deal. Anya has a lot of MP anyway. You can keep doing damage with Tiz. I guess you can keep using Glitter Bugs, of course. Not Poison High Potion, that's helpful. But I don't think he's weak to poison anyway, so it doesn't really matter. Alright. Hopefully that evasion is going to help us as well. I should really even do that every so often. Just because... That and our speed. I'm going to say our speed's more important mainly for the healing and the Rampart to go out before he can attack. So I'm going to do that. And I'm going to use Rampart every single time that it goes away, even if we go into a BP deficit, because it's way more important to at least have that sort of protection. Okay, oh, actually that's good. I didn't realize we didn't even use it yet. We can actually just have you keep attacking. I don't think we've evaded anything once, so... It's not really worth using a turn to bring that back instead of doing a little bit more damage. Luckily, Ring Bell is going to be a consistent damage dealer for us, so... Tiz isn't dealing a ton of damage either way, but it's still something. Graviga, okay. Luckily it's fairly inaccurate, but of course gravity deals half a user's HP and damage. You get your special out quick. We need it. Okay, good. Mainly for that magic attack boost for Tiz so he can get a little bit better. Hit count's alright, I guess. I wonder how much damage Ringing Bell would do. I don't really want to find out. I was wondering how much damage Ringing Bell would do if he just did a normal attack, but I don't really care because he's doing so much damage with his attack items anyway. There's no point in finding out how much he would do by doing a worse attack. We have Rampart out, so I guess you just default actually, because again, I don't want to go into a BP deficit if I can avoid it. However, if Adia does manage to get to a good amount of BP without having to reinstate Rampart, I will use Radiant Blast, because that is a light attack from the Templar. So, of course, it's good against a guy who's weak to light attacks. So this setup's pretty consistent for taking DeRosso down. Okay, yeah, if he's going to do that standard attack, I'd rather he go before Dia, because then we can heal that up easy. Obviously, if he does it... If he does it after Rampart goes out, it's kind of just a waste of Rampart, because then, luckily it's not going to kill us ever, but it's still annoying. It's just a waste of Rampart if it blocks like a dinky little attack like that. It's not really even dinky, but it's dinkier than Energy Burst and then, Bone Crush for sure. We still have Rampart out there, so you default. How'd you use your MP? Did I just use... Or BP, right? Did I just use Rampart? I don't even remember. Whatever. Luckily we got... We don't actually have feeling going out, but luckily he's probably going to use Bone Crush. Or not Bone Crush, Energy Burst next turn anyway, so I don't have to worry about that. Jesus Christ! That's awesome. Okay. Keep using that Fire Aga. You throw out a Curata. You do standard stuff. And you can default. And maybe we'll even get a Radiant Blast out of this. Because we're doing pretty good. Bone Crush. Okay. So the interesting thing about Bone Crush, I don't think that got rid of Tiz and Agnes's Rampart, right? Yeah, because it didn't deal any damage at all. It just counted as literally nothing. So they're fine. Gonna use your special. I'll reinstate Rampart anyway, just for Ring a Bell and Adia. I don't want them getting hurt, especially Adia. Because if I don't have Rampart, then everything's gonna fall apart. That's kind of what happened the first battle as well. I don't know if I've ever explained it. I know I talked about it at one point when we got Time Mage, I'm sure. But what happened at the beginning of the battle was I lost. And Time Mage's special ability is Time Slip, which allows you to restart a battle after you lost with whatever HP and MP you had at the beginning of the fight. However, it does not give you back your SP. So if you wasted money on some SP drinks and you use them in battle and you died, you don't get them back. Microtransactions at its finest. Okay. It hasn't really been that bad, besides that first, balls up run. This has been going pretty smoothly. Gotta reinstate Rampart. And there's a lot of setups like this where you can kind of negate entirely what bosses can even do to you. It can get worse, for sure. Especially now that we have a lot more jobs. We can completely negate elements. We can negate status elements. And a lot of those things are what bosses use to make them tricky. Along with, however powerful they are normally. I don't know if I really want to bother using Rampart again right now, because... So you are, I guess you can use Asper. I think that drains, so whatever, try it. I'm going to get Curata out, just so I can hopefully build up Agnes's special and get him his MP back. I don't think I'm going to bother using Rampart right now, because it's only Ringbell who doesn't have it. And if Ringbell goes down, it's not a huge deal. I mean, we're out big damage deal for a little bit, but yeah, it's not really that big of a deal, honestly. We didn't drain anything. That's fantastic. Need to get that Curate out. You can use your special to keep this going. We can default again, because again, we still have Rampart, everyone, so we're still good. We've just been hearing Ring Bell's theme forever now. Do that 1 damage, man. Do that 1 damage. I don't know why I'm bothering to keep it going. I can't even attack with Tiz right now, really. But, I don't know, whatever. I guess since we have 2 BP, let's go and use the Radiant Blast. Here's the default as well, but he hasn't defaulted once in this whole fight, so it doesn't really matter that much. And there's the Energy Burst, alright. Wow, okay. I didn't realize I would just immediately wipe Ring a Bell, but I guess that makes sense. Okay, well that's not a big deal. It's just surprising a little bit. Let's go ahead and raise, and we'll throw out a Curata. That's everyone. It should heal Ring Bell to full as well. And you're probably going to go last, I think, probably? Yeah, okay. So, luckily the Rampart will still affect Ring a Bell, even though he died. Things like Rampart will not affect people who are dead, unfortunately. So if they come back to life after you've used Rampart, it will not affect them, which is definitely unfortunate. but not a huge deal. Okay, well, good thing we did that, I guess, because immediately he was going to try and wipe us out. So, luckily with this, Tiz is going to basically get rid of all of his MP again, but I'm thinking he's probably going to die this turn, because we're going to just throw a bunch of glitter bugs at him anyway. And I guess we could also throw... Well, no, we can't just use Rampart again. I was going to throw Radiant Blast at his way, but probably not the smartest idea, because we really need that Rampart out. I'm thinking these Divine Veins might take him out. I'm not sure, especially if one does a crit. No. Okay, well, that's fine. Let's have Tiz here. Be heavily damaged, but... Yeah, DeRosso's not a pushover. He can do a lot of damage, and he can take a lot of damage, as you're seeing right now. Luckily, this is also building up Tiz's special, which is good, because that's like the only really big damage dealer that Tiz can do right now. Because otherwise, it's just like 1,000 damage, which is still good. Nothing like mind-blowing. But the specials deal like 7,000, which is insane. Any boss that can withstand however many turns of consistent like 4,000 damage is definitely not a pushover. Use your special then, because we need to get this going. I'm going to continue to use your Curata, because I kind of want to build up your special mana to help Tiz out. We don't need to use Rampart again, so you just default. I'm not sure how much that default card's really helping us, because we're just guarding all damage anyway. It was kind of something I put on Adia just because I needed something to put on her, and I figured that if she is defaulting and she does protect an ally, I think it still takes into account default card, because she was still technically defaulting, Jesus Christ. So she'd be a better lifesaver than without it, but I'm not positive on that, and also it really was just because I had nothing else to put on her. Rampart again, save our lives. This battle has been going on for like this for almost 10 minutes now, I think. I'm surprised I've kept talking. Please die. Or not die, but faint, I guess. This is Pokemon now. Use Curata. Use your thing. Use default. Yeah, I don't know. He's really just taking hits. At this point, couldn't he just deem us worthy? Like, he's clearly not really doing anything to us, right? At this point, I would assume, I would think rather, he'd just be like, okay, yeah, I clearly can't even hurt you. You're worthy, you're cool, please go on ahead, look at the final painting and let me explain it. It just seems kind of silly that we've been surviving for like 15 minutes now, and Deus has just been like, no, you still need to kill me. This is not good enough. I don't know. Rampart again.
I'm bored of you.
Like, if he literally can't hit us, he's maybe killed us in this actual fight, not the first one, the first attempt, but when I knew what I was doing. He killed us maybe once, I think he killed Vingabell once and no one else. When is he gonna just give up and accept that, okay, that he can't do it? I would have done that by this point, but then I have absolutely no willpower at all, so that's not that surprising, but still. Just default. Please, just get out of here. Oh my god. Vingabell, if you could get more crits, that would be amazing. Get those random crits. Graviga. Okay, well that's... It really isn't that bad, again, because, like... You know what, I should really use just ethers at this point, but I don't know. I don't really care. It's not that bad, because it can never kill you, Graviga. And it doesn't get rid of our Rampart, so it's just kind of a nuisance more than anything. Because anything uses after that's going to get blocked anyway, whether it be Bone Crush, it's going to get blocked by Rampart. If you use Energy Burst, it's going to get blocked by Rampart. Physical Attack, going to get blocked by Rampart, so really not a problem if he uses Graviga. We do need to reinstate Rampart though to save everyone's life. Unless this kills him? No, okay. I was really hoping, but oh well. What I really want is Onyx's special. And I'm not getting it. Okay. Do we have Vingabells? We do. Again, hearing Vingabell's theme forever. Hope you like it. It is a really good theme, to be fair. I don't... When was the last time we heard that person's name is in... For more than like 2 minutes before I used a special in that fight and kept it going? That's the one problem I have with specials. I might have mentioned this before, but I love the idea of specials being represented through music, and you have to keep it going to keep, you know, your special benefits going. But at the same time, if there's a fight with really good or emotional music, I wish there was like just a way to turn off the music and instead just have a timer on screen.
The crystals
Because that would be better, in my opinion. And I'd prefer that. I'd shoot for that option because I don't really always want music to overlap, you know, an emotional fights music or something. Sometimes I just want that fight's music. Not so much in the case of this fight because we've heard that person's name several times before we really made use of specials a ton. But it's still a thing I wish there was an option for. Overall. Can I just do that? And I can use one more Radiant Blast as well. Cool. Yeah, and there's just a few instances where I've actually held off on using specials to make the fight easier just because I actually wanted to hear the music. So, really shows an option in this game to turn off music specials and just have timer like in the bottom left of the screen. Okay, there he goes.
How can this be? The immortal Lester DeRosso has been defeated?
Alright, 999 GP, nothing more than that. So, Rob Blind, cool, I think that just gives us more stuff to steal, or we steal more stuff when we do. Save Magic Impede, that's mainly what I want from Med Mage, honestly. So, cool. And a Mega Elixir as well. And, of course, for defeating him, we get the Vampire Asterisk. Vampire is a super cool job that feels sort of like an upgrade to Freelancer in a way, but it's very, very unique in its own right. So its main specialty is Genome Drain. You learn certain abilities of enemies when hit by them. So basically, certain attacks from enemies, if you're hit by them as a vampire, you will learn and you can use them in battle, just as enemies would use them. In certain instances, this is amazing and can also replace Black Mage again, because there's certain attacks that deal fire damage or ice damage or lightning damage that you can get. So, it's awesome, and we will be going over that in this episode as well, where all the genomes are. Don't worry, it's going to be a quick montage, and this episode's been going on for a while as is, so that's just one more thing we have to cover when going over Vampire. But Genome Drain, awesome. We'll be going over more abilities that we can get from it later. At level 2, you can absorb physical damage. You heal 30% of physical damage taken. Helpful. 30% is quite a bit. Bloodthirst at level 3, you deal the same damage as a normal attack, and you heal the damage done. Obviously, that's quite a bit of damage, especially if you put it on someone like, say, I don't know, Monk, then you can heal a lot. Charm at level 5, 75% chance to charm a target. That's a high chance, and against most enemies, that can be really helpful. In fact, that's going to be helpful for a certain genome we're going to want to get as well. But still, even in just standard fights, it's super helpful. Magic Thirst at level 6, you deal 10% damage of a normal attack, but you also drain MP. Obviously good for, say, Black Mage, or Time Mage like Grant is. You probably wouldn't deal much damage, though. It's probably more helpful on, like, a Red Mage if you really want to run that. It is helpful for Vampire regardless, because a lot of the genomes you get will use MP, so... Still, regardless of really who you put it on, it's a good ability, because a lot of classes use MP for different things. At level 7, you get Monster Ability Up, times 1.25 damage to genome attacks. Just, that's straight up helpful. Don't really any complaints there. Battle Thirst, at level 8, you absorb 1 BP from a target. Good. Again, no real complaints there. Subvert, at level 9, a 50% chance to charm all enemies. That's amazing. You can really just have enemies just wipe themselves out, in that sense, half of the time. Awesome. Self-Restraint at level 10. Fully heal all HP at the end of battle. Yes, in my opinion, the idea of having your HP lost at the end of a battle is kind of outdated and silly. That's just my opinion, and that comes from me playing like Xenoblade and stuff. And I don't mind RPGs to do it. Obviously, I love Bravely Default and its sequel, so, I mean, it's not like the end of the world if an RPG doesn't give you your HP back at the end of battle. But I kind of prefer games where each battle is designed with you having everything available to you. You know, all your magic, all your HP. And that way, each single battle can be more difficult, while still being... how do I say this? It can be... Each battle can just be more memorable, more difficult on its own rights. That probably doesn't really hold up as well in RPG like this, where you're running into hundreds of random battles per dungeon. Probably not hundreds, but a lot of them. You might not want each battle to go on forever, because each one is designed for you having full stats, but I don't know. I kind of wish that was the way it was in general. Just my opinion. Anyway, you get Drain Attack at level 12. times 1.5 damage to drain attacks, times 2 to BP drain. Again, no real complaints, it's really good. And you get Genome Drain level 13, which you already talked about. I don't really know why you'd equip that to anyone else, because by the time you get that, you probably have all the genomes, if you're really focusing on vampire that much. So I don't really get why that's even a ability you can get. I wouldn't really mind if that was a thing exclusive to vampire, but hey, whatever. In terms of stat affinities, decent in everything, except for vitality and mind and dex fall a little bit low. Similarly to Freelancer, where everything is B, except this has C's in some things, but not really a big deal. Our arms aptitude, decent in everything, again, except for katanas for some reason. That doesn't really make any sense. Specifically really good with staves, daggers, and rods, which is interesting. I can't really think of why specifically, except maybe daggers. It might be a good class then to have medication as a sub-job on, because daggers use items and you get your special built up. But I don't really know why it's good with, like, knuckles. I don't know why it's bad with katanas. I don't know. It's weird. Weird arms aptitude. It's weird for a weird job. Really good with shields as well, but bad with other pieces of armor. Very, very weird stat affinities, but it's a very weird job, so I suppose that's fitting.
I am a man of my word. Behold, the final painting.
This painting...
It is the angel descended from the heavens during my final battle against Juliana.
An angel?
When we last did battle 1800 years ago, the battle raged 100 days. The mountains of Norende rent asunder. Knowing the battle was reaching its end, I mustered the last of my strength to cast my greatest of spells. As my final attack surged forth, the angel did descend from the skies over Norende.
Are you sure it was an angel?
Verily so, for there are no other words to describe her. For a moment, Juliana and I stood captivated. Before we realized it, our struggle was forgotten. We both tended to the angel. But the angel lost her light. Her wings were shattered and her body torn asunder. There seemed little hope she would live. When she came to her senses, she trembled with fear. Yet with little remaining strength in her body, she made unto us an appeal.
What appeal? What did the angel say to you?
Here she passed from this world. She slipped in and out of consciousness over many a day. In between ever-growing periods of unconsciousness, it was all she could do to mutter incoherently. A trap most vile, such a fool am I, the warriors of light, if it's not too late. These she would repeat over and over. When she did come to her senses, she would speak of the calamity that had befallen her. She spoke of how Luxembourg was on the brink of doom, and spoke with precision of the events that has heralded its coming. She herself was surprised to find that she knew of details of our past, and events of the future as well. The struggle between the old faith and orthodoxy, the tragedy that would befall my family, my immortality, even events of the distant future.
The distant future?
Yes, for the angel spoke of events that have not come to pass even now. Events that await you in your future. She told of a bringer of evil who would appear in the guise of one friendly to the Vestals and seduce them into unleashing chaos in the name of awakening the crystals. This evil one would destroy Luxembourg by piercing the boundary that protects this world, and the opening of a great rift that sunders the earth shall herald its coming.
The Great Chasm.
The angel told of many other omens here the great chasm would open. The light of earth shall raise up the north, and a deathly plague shall cover all the lands. Then shall a great rift rend the earth. She then entrusted me with a certain task, one that only an immortal such as I could fulfill.
What sort of task could only an immortal fulfill?
That I cannot say, for she swore me to secrecy. But thereupon she quietly passed from this world. For 3 days and 3 nights, my former mortal enemy Yuliana and I spoke of what had transpired. Ultimately, we vowed to join forces to prepare for the coming doom of which the angel had foretold.
Lord DeRosso, there is one last matter I fail to understand.
Why Yuliana and I forgave the rebel Templar, even rendering him aid?
Yes.
Yuliana and I conspired in a masquerade. He rose through the Orthodoxy's ranks for vanquishing me, and I went into hiding. That was when the first of the Angel's omens came to be. The lands ringing Eternia began to rise. While the second omen, the plague, had not yet come to pass, we continued to watch over the crystals and the Orthodoxy. So did 1,700 years pass in relative peace, save for a handful of suspicious crises surrounding the crystals. It was not till 30 years ago that the omens returned as if out of legend. First, the lands ringing Eternia began to rise once more. 10 years later, the Great Plague struck, whereupon I knew the Great Chasm was coming. It was then that we began our preparations to strike. It was evident from this series of events that the crystals were involved in some manner. Before the appearance of the Great Chasm, we would assault the temples and seize the crystals. We readied our forces for this plan. I entrusted the task to the Templar, a former cleric of the Orthodoxy. He was also to lead the newly mustered host.
Oh, Father.
While far from infallible, that was the best response I could manage for the coming of the Great Chasm. But I was soon faced with another problem, for the Orthodoxy began conspiring to hold the Grand Ritual in a bid to regain authority.
The Grand Ritual? But that is forbidden! It raises the energy long accumulated within a crystal to a cataclysmic level!
Indeed, and the Templar feared the heavy toll it would exact upon the crystal. He counseled us to dispatch our forces to the head temple with the greatest of haste. Were we to overlook the Grand Ritual and focus upon the coming Great Chasm? Or was the ritual the event that would bring upon the chasm? To wait or attack? The Templar and I could not agree, and so it was. He alone decided to lead a great host against the head temple and the Temple of the Crystal.
That is why my father did what he did?
As I have said before, the Templar is not the sort to send troops into battle over private matters, be they concerned with his wife or not. We threw our backing behind the Templar-led forces. Forever did we believe in his tireless resolve and action. And though the one we backed is the one you have defeated, that is perhaps but a small link in the great chain of events of which the angel foretold.
It's really interesting that that kind of ties in with Dee's journal in a way of something that predicts our future and sort of knows our past as well. Very weird, this angel thing, and as well that person that would appear in the guise of someone friendly to the Vestals and would trick people into awakening the crystals to pierce boundaries between worlds. Anyway, we have some new tutorial quests. Didn't we do that already? Maybe I saved over it or something. I don't know, whatever. As well as a few genome abilities. Oh man, I can't wait to do that. We go to notes, encyclopedia, combat, no, it's abilities, compound, no. Genomes. Look at all the ones we have. Thanks for telling me to go to the stupid menu right then. I like this game a lot though. Anyway. So yeah, we have a lot of genome abilities to get, and by a lot, I mean, I don't know, I'm not going to bother counting how many I have in this list right here. We're going to go get them all. So, montage time. Oh, but also we should probably equip Vampire to someone first. I don't know, ring a bell, Tiz. Let's equip it to Tiz, I guess. Yeah, sure. Go for it, man. Vampire. Cool, and we can go... I guess you can go White Mage, right? Just like, sure. Or maybe, like... I don't know, fuck it. Just singing. Go for singing. Sing everyone a happy song, and you can get rid of that. And Magic MP is useless now. Get Self-Healing, sure. Angelic Ward, sure. And Silence Immunity is helpful for Vampire. And I suppose get Friendship. Get some friends, because I still don't know what that does. Adrenaline, what does that do? Yeah. Support amp. Nah. Man, I don't know. Just fucking get absorb magic damage. That sounds cool. Anyway, montage time for where we can find Genomes. Not Genos. He's dead, but Genomes. Starting off here in Caldus, I should probably mention as well that you probably want to make everyone a vampire to do this, because this is going to increase your chances to get the genome. So essentially, we're going to default here forever until that guy uses Curse on us. Curse is gotten from the Wraith here in Northern Caldus at night. Curse simply allows you to lower an enemy's physical defense and physical attack for 4 turns. Oh, and I should mention that just because Ringabel was the one hit by Curse doesn't mean that only he can use it. If we go to Compounding, or Genome list, sorry, we can see Curse, even though Ringabel was hit by it, Tiz can use it as well. Your party has a collective Genome list opposed to one that is simply for them, which is definitely convenient, and thank God you don't have to do it for all of them. Anyway, on to the next ability. In the Harina region, we can find the Sandworm, and that guy should give us Sandstorm. That's an earth attack with 50% chance to inflict blind on all targets. There's the Great Moth in the Investment Cave that can give you Wing Scales. That is an attack on all opponents with a 75% chance to inflict Confuse. From the Arrow Lantern in Temple of Wind, you can get White Wind. However, to get it, you have to first charm it. This is because otherwise it will only use it on its own allies, rather than your party. However, if you charm it, it'll eventually use it on your party, so you can get it, and there we go. White Wind is a healing attack. Well, that's not really an attack then. It heals for the amount of HP you have. This makes it so Vampire can effectively sort of be a replacement for your healer. Not as effectively, though, as having just a healer, because if your Vampire is damaged, then the plan sort of goes down the drain. The Treant in Miasma Woods can give you Lullaby, which is a 50% chance to inflict sleep on all targets. The Alrune in Florum at night can give you Paralyzing Pollen, which is an attack with a 75% chance to inflict paralysis. In Witherwood in Northern Florum, you get Fireball, which is a fire attack that ignores physical defense from the Dagon. Also in Witherwoods, you can get Dual Attack from the Catamount, which is 2 physical attacks that do 0.65 damage to random enemies. From Valtora's in Eisen, you can get Chomp, which is an attack that reduces an enemy's HP to 1, but is fairly inaccurate. Note that the Genome doesn't actually have to hit you in order for you to learn it. From the Red Flan in the Underfloor, you can get Venom, which is an attack with a 75% chance to inflict poison. From the Gastric Worm in Everlast Tower, you can get Gastric Juices, which is an attack that hits all targets and lowers their physical defense by 25% for 3 turns. And back in Vampire Castle, you can get Hellfire from the Cerberus, which is a physical fire attack on all enemies that does 1.25 damage. And that's it. That's all the genomes we can get as of right now. Now, I want to mention, if you don't want to bother getting these right now, I would highly suggest against not getting them. A lot of them are really helpful, specifically Fireball, Hellfire, White Wind are some really cool ones. Gastric Juices, Venom's alright, Chomp. A lot of them are really good, that's my point. And if you don't get them right now, you will be locked out of pretty much all of them except for Hellfire for quite a while. So you really want to get them now if you're interested in using Vampire at all, and you really should be interested in using it because it's a super good job and the genomes make it really powerful. Not as powerful as Salve Maker, well, arguably. It makes it more diverse than Salve Maker, I will say. You can't charm things as Salve Maker, not easily, at least without finding out what recipe that is, if there even is one. Point is, it's a really cool job. I really love it. I would highly suggest going to get these genomes now. It takes maybe about half an hour to get them all, probably less if you really know what you're doing. And yeah, it's definitely worth your time. But that is it for this episode. If you count the dragons, this side quest overall takes almost 3.5 hours. That's insane. There is no side quest in this game as long as this. And then if you count the grinding I did aside from the dragons, that's nearly 2 hours. Or not 2 hours, 4 hours then, because 2 hours plus 2 hours. It's nearly a 4-hour side quest then. It's really long. It's a really long side quest, but you get a really cool job from it, and you get a lot of cool, interesting lore that makes the story so much more interesting, in my opinion. So I really love this quest, despite how long it is, and despite how tedious it can be to fight the dragons. I love it. I love this quest a lot. Anyway, next time, we will go into the Holy Pillar. But even though there are no more side quests to do, there are 2 really small things that I still need to get done. Just really small, I promise you. Won't take long. Then we'll head right into the Holy Pillar, now that we've awakened all 4 crystals. See you guys then. But hey, if you enjoyed this video, maybe check out some of the other series I've done. You can also consider subscribing, checking out my Patreon page, or joining my Discord server. There are links in the description to those, as well as other social media links like Twitter and Facebook. Thanks for watching.